She was struggling to find work after finishing school, and her mother was very ill and needed care. But even with all her worries, she was still kind to a stranger who had no money for the bus. Who was this stranger really, and how did he come to be in her life? Stay with me as I share this strong and amazing story. Daniel Adebayo lived a life many people could only dream of. He was young, handsome, and belonged to one of the most powerful families in Lagos, Nigeria. His family wasn't just rich, they were super rich, and everyone knew their name. They owned Adebayo Properties Limited, a huge company that built beautiful houses, bought and sold vast stretches of land, and put up tall, shiny buildings all over the city. The Adebayo family was like a kingdom, and many people wished they could be a part of it, even for a day. From the outside, Daniel had it all. He lived in a mansion with many rooms, had drivers for fancy cars, and could buy anything he wanted. He was kind and usually liked to do things his own way. But even with all this wealth, Daniel carried a secret weight on his shoulders, a heavy burden that pressed down on his heart. The future of his powerful family, the very name of Adebayo, seemed to rest entirely on him. Everyone looked at him, waiting to see what he would do, expecting him to follow in his father's footsteps. Deep inside, Daniel felt something was missing. He wanted something more than just money and power. He wanted something he chose for himself, a path that made him happy, not just his family. What he truly loved was music. He dreamed of making songs, of creating melodies that would touch people's hearts. He didn't want to sell houses. He wanted to share his voice with the world. But nobody knew this hidden desire yet. They only saw him as the rich son, the heir who would proudly carry on the family business and make it even bigger. One bright Saturday morning, Chief Adebayo, the well-known and highly respected owner of Adebayo Properties Limited, sat in his enormous living room. He was a tall man with graying hair that showed his years of hard work and a voice that was strong and commanding. He had started his company with nothing, building it piece by piece, brick by brick, until it became one of the most famous real estate companies in all of Nigeria. But today, Chief Adebayo looked worried, his brow furrowed with concern. "Mama Dupe," he called out to his wife, his voice echoing slightly in the large room. "Where's Daniel? We need to talk to him today. We can't wait any longer." Mama Dupe, Daniel's mother, was a gentle and kind woman. She was the one who always brought peace and calm to their grand home. She walked into the living room, her eyes holding a quiet sigh. "He's in his room resting, my dear. Should I go and call him now?" "Yes, please," Chief Adebayo said, his voice firm. "We must speak to him today. The future of Adebayo Properties depends on him. It depends entirely on our son." Mama Dupe nodded and slowly walked up the grand staircase. She reached a heavy, carved wooden door and knocked softly. "Daniel, are you there? Your father wants to see you. Please come down to the sitting room." Daniel opened the door slowly. His face was calm, but inside, his heart felt heavy, like a stone. "Yes, Mama, I'm coming," he said quietly. He walked down the stairs, step by careful step, each one bringing him closer to the conversation he knew was coming.
Chief Adebayo was sitting in his large, comfortable armchair, his face serious but also kind. Daniel greeted him softly. "Good morning, Papa." Chief Adebayo nodded. "Good morning, my son. Please sit down. We need to talk about something very important." Daniel sat on the smaller chair in front of his parents, his hands clasped together in his lap. His mind raced with thoughts and worries. "Papa, Mama, what's going on?" he asked, his voice a little strained. Mama Dupe exchanged a nervous glance with her husband, her lips pressed together. Chief Adebayo cleared his throat, a deep sound, and began to speak. "Daniel, your mother and I are getting older. We have thought long and hard about this. We believe it is time for you to step in as the new CEO of our company, Adebayo Properties Ltd. Daniel's heart began to pound faster in his chest, a loud drumbeat against his ribs. "The new CEO? Me?" "Yes, you, my son," Chief Adebayo said, nodding with a proud smile. "It's your birthright, Daniel. This is your future. This is the future of our family. Our legacy depends on you." Daniel pressed his hands tightly together, trying to gather his thoughts. "Papa, Mama, I'm not sure I want this," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I appreciate everything you've done for me, truly. But I want to follow my own path. I want to make my own choices in life." Chief Adebayo's face hardened, the kindness in his eyes replaced by a firm, unyielding look. His voice grew quiet, but it was strong and bold. "What do you mean, your path, your choices?" he asked, a hint of anger creeping into his tone. "Did you raise yourself? Did you build this company into what it is today? We made all these choices for you. We gave you everything you have, everything you know. And now you want to walk away? Is that how you thank us? Is that how you appreciate our struggles and the sacrifices we made for your future?" Daniel nodded slowly, his gaze falling to his hands. "I will think about it, Papa," he said, his voice soft but clear. "But I want you to know I'm not sure this is what I want for myself." A heavy silence filled the large living room. Chief Adebayo's grip tightened on the armrest of his grand chair. Mama Dupe pressed her hands together in her lap, her face filled with worry. In that moment, a very big decision was hanging in the air, a decision that would soon change everything in their lives forever. Daniel was not happy, not one bit. His heart felt heavy, a dull ache in his chest as he thought about his parents' plans for him. All he could think about was his dream, making music, not selling big, fancy houses. This thought made him sad, and it filled him with worry. He went back to his large, silent room and sat quietly on his bed. His hands were clasped together, and his mind was buzzing like a trapped bee. Should I follow their plans, the path they've chosen for me, or should I follow my own heart, my own path? Daniel whispered to himself, the words barely audible in the quiet room. He turned off the light in his room, plunging it into darkness. The big clock on his wall kept ticking, each second passing slowly, adding to his worries. As the nights passed, his worries grew bigger and heavier. What if his father, Chief Adebayo, stayed angry forever? What if his mother, Mama Dupe, cried even more? What if he let them down, the very people who had given him everything? Daniel pressed his face into his soft pillow, a silent plea escaping his lips. "I'm sorry," he whispered into the fabric. "But I think I need to be true to myself. I need to follow my heart, even if it's difficult." A few days later, Chief Adebayo called Daniel back into the grand living room. His voice was heavy, firm, and left no room for argument. "Daniel, we need to talk. This cannot wait any longer." Daniel walked slowly down the long staircase. His knees felt weak, almost wobbly, but he kept going, forcing one foot in front of the other. His father was sitting in his large armchair, his face stern. Mama Dupe was sitting close by, her hands pressed together in her lap, looking very worried. Worried for her son, worried for their family, worried for the future. Chief Adebayo raised his voice, his words cutting through the silence. "Daniel, we built everything for you. We made sure you would have a big future, a secure life. We made sure you would lead Adebayo Properties. Why are you turning your back on us? Why?" Daniel pressed his hands together, his own resolve strengthening with each word his father spoke. "Papa, Mama, I'm truly sorry," he said, his voice clearer this time. "I appreciate everything you've done, truly, but I want something different. I want to follow my own path. I want to make music. I want to be happy in my own way." Chief Adebayo's face turned red with shock and anger. "Music? Are you mad, Daniel?" he roared, his voice loud enough to shake the walls. "Do you know what you're turning down? Do you know you're throwing away a multi-million-dollar company, a legacy built over decades? For what? Some songs? Some fleeting tunes?" Chief Adebayo's voice became aggressive, his words like sharp blades. "Daniel, listen to me. If you do this, I will freeze your bank account. I will cut you off completely. You will not be able to use a single car in this compound, not even for a short drive. Do you hear me? You will lose everything. So think very carefully. This is your last chance to make the right choice." Mama Dupe started crying softly, her hands covering her mouth. "Daniel, please, listen to your father," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. Daniel stood up slowly. His knees were shaking, but a new strength filled him, a determination he hadn't known he possessed. "I'm not going to be your CEO, Papa. I'm going to follow my heart." Chief Adebayo fell silent, his face a mask of shock and disbelief. His grip tightened fiercely on the armrest of his chair, his knuckles turning white. The room was heavy with silence, thick with unspoken words and broken expectations. Mama Dupe continued to cry quietly into her hands. Daniel turned and walked toward the door without looking back. He left their big mansion, a place that had once been his golden cage, and stepped out into the busy streets of Lagos. He decided to board a public transport bus, a big yellow Donfo that would take him far away from all the pressure and the life he no longer wanted. Across town, Flora Okoro was struggling. She was a poor young woman who had just finished her degree in business administration from a good university. But even with her excellent grades, she couldn't find a good job. Flora stood by her small window and looked outside. The clouds were heavy in the sky, a dark gray promise of rain about to fall. Inside her small room, there was not much food. There was no money for bills, not for electricity, not for water.
Her landlord had already knocked on their door several times, asking when she would pay the rent, his voice impatient. Her father had passed away 2 years earlier, leaving a void in their lives. Now her mother, Mama Nkechi, was sick, and there was no money for her treatment, no money for the crucial medicine she needed. Flora knelt down by her mother's side, her voice filled with desperation. "Mama, please hold on. I'm trying. I'm looking for a way to pay for your treatment. I promise." Mama Nkechi opened her eyes slowly, her face pale but her gaze loving. "Don't cry, my child," she whispered, her voice weak. "I'm proud of you. I know you are a strong woman, my brave daughter." Flora pressed her hands together quietly, tears blurring her vision. "Mama, I won't let you down. I'll do whatever I can. I'll find a way. I'll make sure you get the treatment you need." That night, as the rain fell steadily outside, creating a drumming sound on their tin roof, Flora cried quietly in the corner of their small room. She was worried, afraid, and completely unsure what the future held for them. The next morning, Flora woke up very early, even before the sun. She pressed her hands together and whispered a small prayer, her voice trembling slightly. "Please, God, let me find a job today. I need this. Mama is sick, and I want to help her. Please, show me a way." Flora got up, had a quick bath, and put on her best dress, a simple, well-worn fabric, but clean and pressed. She held her small, worn handbag close to her chest and walked out into the busy streets of Labros. All day long, she went from company to company, from office to office. She dropped her CV, filled out countless forms, and begged managers to give her a chance, just one chance. As the clouds began to gather again in the sky, promising more rain, Flora felt a deep worry settling in her stomach. What if I find no job today? What if I can't pay for Mama's treatment? She kept walking, her feet heavy with exhaustion, her stomach empty and rumbling. Just as she was turning onto a very busy street, something caught her eye. She saw a notice board in front of a small local eatery, a bukka. The notice, written simply, read, "Cleaner wanted. Apply in person." Flora pressed her hands together in silent thanks. A cleaner! It wasn't what she had studied for, but it was a job, a way to earn money. "Thank you," she whispered. "I'll do whatever I can. I'm not afraid. I'm not ashamed. I just want to help Mama."
She walked into the bukka, the smell of cooked food filling the air. She spoke quietly to the manager, a portly man with a kind face. "Good afternoon, sir. I saw the notice outside. I'm looking for a job. I'm willing to clean. I will work very hard, I promise." The manager nodded slowly, looking at her with a thoughtful expression. "Start tomorrow. We pay at the end of the week." Flora's face lit up with overwhelming gratitude, a bright smile spreading across her tired features. "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I will not let you down." Flora walked back home with a heavy but profoundly thankful heart. "I may be a cleaner," she thought, a quiet determination settling within her, "but I'm not a beggar. I'm a strong woman, and I'll do whatever it takes to care for Mama until I get a better opportunity, a chance to use my degree."
In a fancy lounge in a busy part of Lagos, Daniel sat alone, sipping a drink. His mind was heavy, burdened by the recent events at home. His parents had truly frozen his bank account, and the gleaming cars in their compound were off limits to him. Daniel couldn't use them anymore. So, to clear his mind and think about his uncertain future, he started going out by himself. Sometimes he'd leave in the morning and not return until very late at night. His heart was a tangled mass of worries. His parents didn't understand his love for music. They didn't want him to follow his passion. They wanted him to be a big boss, the new CEO of Adebayo Properties. But Daniel wanted something different. He wanted to follow his own path, find his own passion, and discover his own happiness. That evening, after a long, tiring day of deep thought, Daniel stepped out of the lounge. He walked down the busy road toward the bus stop. The clouds were turning a dark, bruised purple, and the beautiful orange of the sunset was fading fast. Vehicles rushed back and forth, a blur of lights and speed. People walked quickly, their faces set, and the city was filled with a loud, constant hum of noise. Daniel kept his hands in his pockets, lost in thought about what to do with his future. His mind was so busy, so full of questions, that he didn't even notice someone bump into him. "Sorry, brother. I'm so sorry," the man said quietly as he quickly moved past. Daniel barely registered the apology and simply nodded, continuing his walk. He didn't even notice that the man had expertly slipped his wallet from his back pocket. His wallet was gone, but Daniel, deep in his thoughts, didn't know it yet. That very same evening, Flora finished her shift. After a tiring day of scrubbing floors and wiping tables at the bukka, she stepped out, her small handbag on her shoulder. She walked down the busy road toward the bus stop, her mind filled with her own worries, her sick mother, the piling bills, their uncertain future. She had no idea that something big was about to happen. The paths of two very different people were slowly, unknowingly crossing, and their stories were about to connect in a way that nobody, not even they, could have imagined. Daniel finally arrived at the chaotic bus stop. He reached into his back pocket to pay for his Danfo fare, but his hand met only empty fabric. His eyes opened wide in shock, and his heart started to beat faster, a frantic drum against his ribs. He turned his other pockets inside out, a desperate search. "Where's my wallet? Where's my wallet?" he muttered quietly to himself, his voice filled with panic. Daniel thought for a moment. Maybe I left it at the lounge, he hoped. So he quickly rushed back to the lounge. He went up to the waiters, his voice urgent. "Did you see a wallet? Did someone find a wallet here?" he asked, his eyes scanning the tables. The waiters shook their heads. "No, sir, we didn't see anything. Nothing at all." Daniel's shoulders slumped. He turned and walked back toward the bus stop, his worries growing larger with every step. "What will I do now? How will I pay for the bus to get home?" he asked himself, feeling helpless. When he got back to the bus stop, another Danfo bus was already loading passengers, its conductor shouting the destination. Daniel hurried up to the driver. "Please, sir, I lost my wallet. I have no money, but I desperately need to get home. Please, can I ride without paying?" The driver, a burly man with a stern face, shook his head firmly.
No pay, no ride. My bus is not for charity. Everyone pays their fare. The driver turned away, completely ignoring Daniel's desperate plea. Inside the bus, Flora was sitting by the window seat, looking outside quietly. Her mind was heavy with worries about Mama and Ketchy, about the bills, about her future. Then, something caught her attention. She saw a young man outside, clearly distressed, begging for a ride. She heard him explain that he had lost his wallet. Her heart, so full of kindness, despite her own struggles, stirred within her. She didn't have much money, but something deep inside her told her, help him. Do something kind today. Flora stood up and walked toward the bus driver. Wait, please, she said quietly, her voice gentle but firm. I'll pay for him. The driver turned and looked at her, his eyebrows raised in surprise. Are you sure, young lady? You want to pay for a stranger? He asked, his voice full of doubt. Yes, I'm sure, Flora replied, looking him in the eye. Please, just let him in. He needs to get home. Flora opened her small, worn purse and carefully took out some money, just enough to pay for his bus fare. The driver nodded, though still looking reluctant. All right, he can come in, he said, turning back to the door. Daniel's eyes grew wide with surprise and relief. Thank you so much. I appreciate this more than words can say. You're so kind, truly kind. He walked into the bus and found a vacant seat near Flora. The two didn't say much to each other at first, but something new was starting between them. A new path was opening up, a path that neither of them saw coming. Daniel turned to Flora, his heart full of happiness and gratitude. Thank you. May God bless you. I truly appreciate what you did, he said quietly, his voice sincere. Flora nodded shyly. It's okay. I'm happy I could help. Then Daniel said, My name is Daniel. Flora whispered back, a soft smile on her face. My name is Flora. Daniel paused for a moment, his heart beating a little faster. Can I have your phone number? He asked quietly, a hopeful look in his eyes. Flora fell silent. She held her small bag close, a flicker of worry crossing her face. She was worried about trusting someone new, worried about what might happen. Then, after thinking for a moment, she slowly nodded. Yes, she said, her voice soft. I'll give you my number. Daniel carefully copied her number into his own phone. His hands were a little shaky, but he was smiling. He noticed something about Flora, her restaurant uniform. It was a simple uniform, not expensive or fancy. It made him think, she's kind, even when she's struggling, even when life is not easy for her. This genuine kindness touched him deep in his heart, leaving a lasting impression. That night, when Daniel finally got back to the quiet, empty mansion that felt less and less like home, he lay down in his large bed. His mind was buzzing, not with worries about his family, but with thoughts of that kind woman, Flora, the woman who had paid for his bus ride, even when she clearly didn't have much herself. Daniel whispered quietly to himself in the darkness, Who is she? Why is she so kind even when life is not kind to her? His mind was heavy with these questions. He truly wanted to know more about Flora. Daniel decided then and there that he was going to find out about Flora. The next morning, he called his trusted friend, Officer Bayo, who worked as an investigation officer.
Bayo, I need your help, please, Daniel said into the phone, his voice serious. I need you to check up on someone for me. Her name is Flora. I will send your phone number to you. I want to know who she really is. I want to be sure that I can trust her. Bayo paused for a moment on the other end of the line. All right, Daniel, he replied, his voice calm and professional. I'll see what I can find for you. Give me a few days. The phone call ended, and Daniel pressed the phone close to his ear for a moment, even after the dial tone. His heart was beating faster, with a mixture of hope and nervousness. Please, he whispered, let there be something good about her. A few days later, Bayo called back. Daniel grabbed his phone instantly, his hand shaking slightly. Bayo, you found something? Daniel held his phone tighter. What did you find? Tell me, please. Bayo's voice was quiet and thoughtful. Daniel, I found something important about Flora. She is a very hard-working lady with a kind heart. She finished university with a degree in business administration, and her grades were excellent. But it's been hard for her to find a good job since she graduated. Right now, she works as a restaurant cleaner, a bukka cleaner. She's truly struggling to make ends meet, and she has a sick mother she's trying to care for. But even with all her difficulties, she's still kind to everyone around her. She has a good reputation. Daniel fell silent. His heart felt heavy, but not with sadness. It was heavy with a deep understanding and a growing sense of care for someone he barely knew. He felt a strong pull towards her, a connection that went beyond words. "Thank you, Bio," Daniel said, his voice soft but sincere. "I appreciate this so much. We'll meet later in the evening." Daniel turned off his phone, closed his eyes, and whispered to himself, "Flora, I'm going to do something. I'm going to make things right for you." And that was the exact moment when everything truly started to change, not just for Daniel, but for Flora too. One morning, Daniel decided it was time to visit the bukka where Flora worked. He wanted to see her again, to understand her better, but he didn't want her to know he came from a rich, powerful family. He wanted to start a genuine friendship with her, a friendship that wasn't about money or social standing. He wanted her to like him for who he was, not for his family's name. When Daniel stepped into the small bukka, the warm, comforting smell of cooked food filled the air. Flora was busy cleaning a table close to the window, wiping it down with quick, efficient movements. She looked up when she heard the door open, her eyes briefly meeting Daniel's. She paused for a moment, a flicker of recognition in her gaze. She felt like she had seen that face before, but for that exact moment, she couldn't remember where. Daniel walked in quietly and chose a seat in a corner, out of the way. He didn't want to disturb her while she was on duty, working hard. He ordered some food, a simple meal, and ate slowly, his eyes often drifting to Flora as she moved from table to table, diligently doing her work. Flora kept working, focused on her tasks, but something in her heart kept telling her that the man sitting there looked very familiar. She tried to remember, racking her brain, but the thought just wouldn't come to her.
Daniel finished his meal, paid his bill, and left the bukka quietly, without saying anything to her. He wanted to wait for the right time to speak to her, a time when she wasn't so busy with work. Later that evening, Flora finished her shift. She washed her hands, picked up her small handbag, and stepped out of the bukka. The street was still busy, full of people and noise, and she started walking toward the bus stop, ready for her long ride home. Suddenly, she heard someone call, "Flora!" She turned around and saw the same young man standing under a nearby streetlight. His face was kind, and he was smiling at her. Flora stared at him for a few seconds, then a soft laugh escaped her lips as recognition finally dawned. "I remember now," she exclaimed, a surprised smile spreading across her face. "You're the man from the bus last time, right? The one whose fare I paid." Daniel nodded, his smile widening. "Yes, that's me, and I've come to pay your bus fare today, just like you paid mine last time." They both laughed together, the sound light and friendly in the evening air. As they walked toward the bus stop side by side, they began to talk. A small new friendship had clearly started between them, and little did they know, their lives were about to change forever because of it.